Caitlin Clark's return to the Indiana Fever is no longer just a rumor whispered between beat reporters and hopeful fans. It's turning into a full-blown reality, and the entire WNBA feels the tremors of what's coming because the moment Clark laced up her sneakers for practice again after weeks of battling that nagging groin injury, the narrative shifted, the stakes rose, and suddenly the question that echoed through every fan forum, sports talk show, and rival locker room was simple yet polarizing. Is this comeback too soon, or is this exactly what Indiana needs to flip the script on a season that's been defined by frustration, injuries, and disappointment? And the answer, like most things, in the Caitlin Clark era, depends on which side of the league you're on, because for Fever fans this is the miracle they've been praying for, while for jealous rivals and league executives who've spent months controlling narratives without her presence, this return feels like the ground under their feet is starting to crack wide open. And when head coach Stephanie White was asked about Clark's progress, her words, though measured, spoke volumes as she explained that yes, Clark had gone through the team's walkthroughs. Yes, she'd been participating in short pre-game routines. But that what she really wanted to see was Clark in live practice, taking contact, running the full length of the floor, enduring fatigue, and sustaining that intensity without regression because, as White emphasized, fatigue changes everything, and the real test isn't just whether Clark can jog through a set or hit wide-open jumpers, but whether she can handle 94 feet of physical defense, game after game, without her body breaking down again. And that perspective is crucial because the Fever, battered and bruised all season, know that without Clark they've looked like a shell of themselves, a patchwork squad just trying to survive. And the stats don't lie. Without Clark's shooting gravity and floor vision, Aaliyah Boston's dominance faded, Kelsey Mitchell's scoring bursts felt wasted, and Indiana's offense collapsed into YMCA pickup basketball with little rhythm, little spacing, and virtually no star power, which is why fans and media alike started treating the Fever injury list like a Star Wars scroll. A never-ending lineup of sidelined names from Sophie Cunningham to Chloe By to Sydney Colson to Ari McDonald. A rotating cast that left the team looking less like a playoff contender and more like an experimental scrimmage squad. And so when practice footage surfaced online, showing Clark in uniform again, taking jumpers, jogging the floor, feeding passes, working with teammates, the reaction was explosive as fans melted down in comment sections, analysts speculated on return dates, and rivals tried to downplay what everyone secretly knows. Clark's presence doesn't just improve Indiana, it transforms the entire ecosystem of the league because let's be real, the WNBA can pretend to run on parity. It can prop up whatever narratives it wants about rivalries or balance of power. But everyone knows who drives the engine of ticket sales, TV ratings, viral highlights, and casual fan interest, and it's not Angel Reese. It's not A'ja Wilson. It's not even the reigning champions. It's Caitlin Clark, the rookie who turned arenas into sold-out theaters, who forced networks to shift primetime slots, who made even casual sports fans tune into the WNBA, and that's why Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, Angel Reese, A'ja Wilson, and every critic who's tried to downplay her importance suddenly find themselves biting their lips, because Clark's return threatens the fragile narratives they've been carefully crafting since her arrival. And for those rivals, this isn't just about basketball, it's about relevance, because Angel Reese built her brand off pretending to rival Clark. Wilson turned her jealousy into public shade, and Cheryl Reeve practically made dismissing Clark into a coaching strategy. But all of that crumbles if Clark comes back and buries them with logo threes and highlight assists like nothing ever happened. And yet the dilemma remains, because for every voice screaming get her back on the court now, there are just as many warning that groin injuries linger, re-injury could be catastrophic, and her long-term health matters more than any desperate playoff push. But here's the problem. The WNBA doesn't think about 2026. It thinks about ratings, sold-out arenas, and playoff drama this year. And Engelbert isn't losing sleep over Clark's career longevity. She just wants the league's golden ticket back on the hardwood to rescue the bottom line. And while she tries to insist the league isn't about one player, everyone sees through it because the numbers prove otherwise. When Clark's out, attendance dips, broadcasts lose viewers, and the league fades into the background of the sports landscape. But when she's in, every game feels like an event. Every shot has viral potential, every arena sells out, and every headline writes itself, which is why Clark's return, even if only at 70%, instantly changes the playoff math. Because imagine Indiana facing the Sparks in a must-win game with Clark in uniform. Suddenly, the Fever go from clinging to hope to legitimately tilting. The playoff race. And Los Angeles, Golden State, and other bubble teams are forced to scramble, their strategies derailed by one player's comeback. And that's why rivals are sweating bullets. Because deep down they know Indiana isn't making the playoffs without Clark. That without her, there's no rhythm, no spacing, no hope. But with her, even a late-season surge becomes possible. And that's terrifying for opponents who've been trash-talking while she was sidelined. Because every word of shade they threw at her risks boomeranging back when she returns and dominates. And let's not forget the referees either, because these are the same officials who let Clark take elbows, hacks, and eye pokes without protection. And with her return, every call, every no call will be under a microscope, with fans ready to dissect slow-motion replays on social media within seconds. And the league knows its credibility is on the line if Clark isn't protected this time around. Yet the most fascinating part of this saga isn't even the injuries, the playoff picture, or the marketing stakes. It's Clark's mindset, because she isn't wired to sit and watch. This is the same competitor who carried Iowa through March Madness slugfests, who thrives when the pressure is suffocating, who gets restless sitting on the bench watching teammates cough up leads, and so if she feels she can play, she's going to push to play regardless of what the medical staff or the league office wants. Because Clark has never lived by other people's rules and she's not about to start now. And that tension between her competitive fire, her team's desperation, the league's financial hunger, and her long-term health is what makes this return saga the most compelling storyline the WNBA has had in years. Because make no mistake, the second she steps on that court, everything changes, from playoff seeding to TV ratings to social media debates. And whether you love her, hate her, or fear her, Caitlin Clark is about to remind everyone why she's the gravitational force of the WNBA, the one player nobody is truly ready for, the one who can expose critics, silence rivals, and electrify fans all at once. And that is why her return, whether it happens against the Sparks, the Valkyries, or any other opponent, is bigger than just one player coming back from injury. It's the moment the league's balance of power snaps back to reality, the moment the facade of parity collapses, the moment the WNBA has to admit what fans already know. With Caitlin Clark, everything is possible, and without her, it's just another league struggling for attention. And as this story unfolds, as footage continues to leak from practice, as teammates light up just seeing her run the floor again, and as fans circle dates on the schedule with trembling anticipation, one thing is certain, the entire basketball world is about to find out that you can sideline Caitlin Clark's body for a few weeks, but you can't sideline her impact, her influence, or the fear she strikes into every rival the second she laces up her shoes and takes the court once again.
That other players don't face. White wasn't being dramatic. She was watching her.
The situation surrounding Caitlin Clark's looming return to the Indiana Fever is nothing short of chaotic, hilarious, and historic when you zoom out. Because think about it, other WNBA stars can miss weeks at a time, and the only people who even flinch are diehards scrolling Reddit or a few loyal fans posting about it on X. But when Caitlin Clark so much as picks up a basketball during warm-ups, when she simply dribbles through a light workout or takes a few jump shots in a half-speed walkthrough, the entire WNBA shakes as if an earthquake has hit. Headlines explode, rival players squirm, executives panic, and fans across the country start counting the days. And that's why saying the league is in panic mode isn't hyperbole. It's reality. Because this product is completely dependent on her star power, her gravity, and her ability to draw millions of eyes to a league that, without her, struggles desperately for attention. And here's the kicker. The whole season is teetering on whether Clark can come back sharp, even at 80%. Because if she does, she has the power to flip the playoff picture upside down overnight, to take Indiana from clinging to life support into being a genuine threat. But if she doesn't, if she can't regain her rhythm, or worse, re-injures herself, the Fever are toast, and the WNBA spotlight fades fast without its golden ticket on the floor, which is why the pressure has never been more intense. And so let's break this down. Starting with Indiana, a team currently hanging on by the thinnest of playoff threads. A group that has patched its rotation together with hardship players, rookies, and honestly anyone they can grab off the street. Because the injuries have gutted them so badly that if the Fever announced open tryouts tomorrow, nobody would bat an eye. That's how desperate it's gotten. And without Clark orchestrating the offense, without her range pulling defenses out, 230 feet and her vision unlocking teammates, This team has been spinning its wheels, blowing leads, and handing away third quarters like free Costco samples. It hasn't been basketball, it's been survival mode. And that's exactly why Stephanie White's comments about wanting to see Clark in practice, even if not official team practice but in simulated scrimmages designed to mimic live action, matter so much. Because they signal that Indiana isn't going to leave their franchise star on the sidelines if she's healthy enough to go. Not when the playoffs are in reach. Not when her presence is the difference between life and death for their season. And so when reporters started looking at the schedule, connecting dots, and circling dates, optimism started spreading like wildfire. With speculation that maybe September 5th at home against Chicago could be the ideal return date because it offers spacing and comfort. Though nobody could totally rule out the possibility of an earlier road trip cameo on August 29th, the 31st. Or September 2nd, because the truth is this: the longer the Fever keep winning without her, the more time they buy. But the second they stumble, the urgency to bring Clark back skyrockets, and regardless of the exact date, her return doesn't magically erase every problem. But what it does give Indiana is something they haven't had in weeks: a pulse. Because her presence instantly transforms the dynamic, spacing the floor, shifting defenses, drawing doubles, creating gravity that frees up Aaliyah Boston from being smothered by 3 defenders every trip down, and giving Kelsey Mitchell the green light to finally stop playing superhero for all 4 quarters. Because with Clark back, Mitchell can pick her spots, attack within rhythm, and let Clark run the orchestra. And that alone makes the Fever dangerous again. Even if Clark isn't sprinting at 100%, because her gravitational pull alone changes everything. And that is exactly why rival teams are nervous. The Sparks, the Valkyries, even the Mystics, every bubble team jockeying for those final playoff spots. They see what's coming and they don't want it. Not now. Not when Clark doesn't do easing back in, because this is the same rookie who walked into the league, casually pulling logo threes in her debut like she'd been doing it for a decade. She doesn't jog into games. She storms into them full throttle. And if she's cleared, someone is about to get torched, and those teams know it could be them. Which is why Caitlin Clark is clearly ramping up, not being shut down, even if setbacks remain possible. And from the Fever's perspective, for all the doom and gloom that's surrounded their season, this moment feels like a reward, because they've been fighting, playing hard, surviving with patchwork rotations, and finally, the light at the end of the tunnel is starting to glow. With Clark healing, Chloe Bai expected to return soon, and Stephanie White reminding reporters that practice participation is trending positive, making this one of the best stretches of news Fever fans have had in months. But while Indiana breathes sighs of relief, the WNBA itself faces a weird dilemma, because for the last month, without Clark, they've had a break from constant scrutiny. No highlight reels dominating SportsCenter. No trending clips dissecting officiating. No debates about whether refs were protecting her. Just a dull stretch where only hardcore fans paid attention. But with Clark inching toward a return, the spotlight slams back down. Every foul, every shove, every missed call goes viral again. And that's not just inconvenient. It's the exact kind of scrutiny Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and the league office hate. Because they can't hide officiating incompetence when millions of eyes are glued to Clark's every possession. And that's part of the panic too, because suddenly accountability is unavoidable. And then there's the playoff math, which is brutal without Clark. The Fever are clinging to life support, with the Sparks holding key tiebreakers, the Valkyries breathing down their necks, and the margin for error basically gone. Because 1 or 2 more losses and Indiana's season evaporates. Meaning they can't afford to split games anymore. They need a win streak, and that's why Clark's return has been circled like the Super Bowl. Because if she steps back onto the floor against the Sparks, it becomes a do-or-die showdown. Lose and Indiana's done. Win, and suddenly they're alive again. Flipping playoff odds overnight and making the league sweat. Because everyone knows the WNBA does not want its golden ticket watching the postseason from her couch. And while plenty of people ask why come back at all, why not just shut it down? The answer is simple. If she's healthy and she can ramp back up, she needs to get reps, to find rhythm, to prepare for the future. And yes, with several games left, that timing matters, because Indiana, with Clark, Boston, and Mitchell, even if it's a big 2.5, since Boston has struggled at times, still has the firepower to scare opponents, while Indiana without her is just playing out the string. And let's be brutally honest, Clark's return is about way more than Indiana. It's about the league's entire survival in the national spotlight. because the WNBA has been riding her name all season. Sold-out arenas, record-shattering jersey sales, massive rating spikes. Highlight clips flooding social media whether her shots fall or not. Because if it's Clark, it trends, and without her the playoffs look like business as usual. Liberty versus Lynx with the same tired storylines, but with her, suddenly casual fans care. Sponsors lean in. Broadcasts become must-watch, and that's why Engelbert and the league office will be doing cartwheels if Clark returns in time.